The global impact of cartel-controlled cities. At the heart of cartel-controlled cities is the drug trade, a multi-billion-dollar industry that has infiltrated nearly every major city in the world. The power of these cartels reaches beyond borders, with international organizations like the Sinaloa Cartel, Cali Cartel, and Los Zetas operating in cities across continents. From Mexico to Colombia, Africa, and Eastern Europe, the influence of drug cartels stretches far and wide, and their impact on local politics, security, and the economy is devastating. These cartels are not just drug dealers, they are organized crime syndicates that control territories with ruthless precision. They are involved in every aspect of criminal activity: drug trafficking, arms smuggling, human trafficking, extortion, money laundering, and even political corruption. The cartels often operate with military-like discipline, using paramilitary forces and hitmen to enforce their rule and eliminate any opposition. Mexico is the birthplace of the modern cartel, and it remains the epicenter of cartel-controlled cities. Cities like Tijuana, Ciudad Juarez, and Culiacan are some of the most notorious cities in the world for cartel violence, where organized crime controls everything from drug production to distribution. The Sinaloa Cartel, once led by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, is perhaps the most infamous of these groups. Based in Sinaloa, this cartel operates throughout Mexico and internationally, supplying cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and methamphetamine to markets in the US, Canada, and beyond. The cartel's control over cities like Culiacan, where its members have free reign over the streets, has created an environment where the law is often ineffective. In Tijuana, the Arellano Felix organization, once one of the most powerful cartels in the world, has left a legacy of bloodshed and destruction. Despite its fall from power, the city remains a battleground between various factions of cartels vying for control. The Tijuana cartel has long had a stranglehold on the city's drug trade, but today it faces competition from groups like the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, which has taken control of large portions of the drug market in the region. Ciudad Juarez, a city notorious for its violence, has been under the control of multiple cartels over the years, including the Juarez Cartel, which fought bitterly with the Sinaloa Cartel for control of drug smuggling routes into the US. The violence between these factions in Juarez has resulted in thousands of deaths, as well as widespread human rights abuses, extortion, and economic collapse. The impact of cartel-controlled cities extends beyond Mexico, and Colombia is another prime example of how the reach of organized crime has devastated urban areas. In the 1980s and 1990s, Colombia was the center of the cocaine trade, with the Medellin cartel, led by Pablo Escobar, controlling not just the drug trade, but also influencing politics, law enforcement, and the economy of entire regions. Although the Medellin cartel was dismantled after Escobar's death in 1993, the city of Medellin still bears the scars of his reign. The city was once the epicenter of drug trafficking and cartel violence. The legacy of Escobar's empire still lingers in Medellin today, even though the city has made significant strides in reducing violence and rebuilding its infrastructure. The cartels may have been broken, but the violence and corruption they instilled in the city are hard to erase. The Cali Cartel, another major Colombian criminal organization, also had a profound impact on the country. The Cali Cartel controlled much of the cocaine trade in the 1990s and wielded vast power in Colombian society. Despite its eventual downfall, the influence of the Cali Cartel on Colombia's politics, judicial system, and economy continues to be felt. Even today, Colombia still grapples with the consequences of decades of cartel rule. The city of Bogotá is a far cry from the chaotic, drug-filled days of the 1990s, but other regions, such as Cúcuta and Cartagena, continue to be plagued by the effects of organized crime. These cartels have evolved, and although they may no longer control entire cities, their presence remains pervasive in Colombian society. One of the most dangerous and rapidly growing criminal organizations in the world today is the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. Based in Guadalajara, Mexico, the CJNG has rapidly expanded its influence beyond Mexican borders, operating in cities across the US, Central America, and even Europe. In the US, the CJNG controls large portions of the drug trade, particularly methamphetamine and fentanyl. Los Angeles and Chicago have become major hubs for CJ9 operations. The cartel's reach extends to New York, Dallas, and Atlanta, where its presence is felt through violent turf wars and an ever-growing supply of deadly drugs. The CJNG's brutality is unmatched, with the cartel often using extreme violence to assert its dominance. The infamous La Línea faction of the CJNG operates with brutal efficiency in Mexico and has been involved in countless murders, extortion schemes, and kidnappings. The cartel's expansion into Central America, particularly El Salvador, has led to an alarming rise in violence and instability in the region. While the US and Latin America are typically seen as the heart of the drug trade, Eastern Europe has become a crucial point for cartels' global operations. Countries like Ukraine, Russia, and Romania have seen an influx of Mexican, Colombian, and Russian organized crime syndicates working together to distribute drugs and launder money. Mafia-like syndicates from Russia and Italy have established a stronghold in cities like Bucharest, Kiev, and Moscow, where they control drug routes, arms smuggling, and money laundering operations. In Ukraine, the situation has been worsened by the ongoing conflict, with cartels taking advantage of the chaos to smuggle weapons, drugs, and people across borders. In Russia, the Chechen Mafia and other regional groups control major parts of the drug trade coming from Central Asia and Eastern Europe. Moscow has become a significant hub for heroin trafficking, with Russian-speaking gangs using Central Asia as a staging ground to funnel heroin into European markets. These cartels work alongside local mafias, creating a global network that spans continents. The true impact of cartel-controlled cities is felt on the streets, where violence is a daily reality. Assassinations, kidnappings, and torture are common tools used by cartels to maintain control. In cities like Tijuana and Ciudad Juarez, citizens live in constant fear of gang-related violence. Young people are recruited into the cartels from a young age, often because of a lack of opportunities and the brutal allure of power and money. In Colombia, the cartel-controlled areas in the countryside are where the real tragedies occur. Whole communities are displaced, murdered, and forced into slavery under the rule of cartels. These cartels target the most vulnerable, exploiting entire populations for labor, sexual exploitation, and drug production. The government's inability or unwillingness to fight back against these cartels only exacerbates the problem. In many cartel-controlled cities, police officers, politicians, and even judges are bribed or threatened into complicity, leading to a widespread culture of corruption. The violence and corruption result in a tragic cycle of fear, poverty, and destruction that affects everyone, from the average citizen to the political elites. The struggle for control of cartel-dominated cities is far from over. As cartels become more sophisticated and expand globally, governments and international law enforcement agencies are forced to adapt. Agencies like the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and Mexican Federal Police are working together in joint operations to dismantle these organizations. But the problem remains massive and deeply ingrained. The global impact of cartel-controlled cities is undeniable. From the streets of Tijuana to the violence in Medellin, the influence of cartels is felt everywhere. Their reach extends far beyond their home countries, affecting nations across the globe. The toll on humanity is immense. Lives lost, families destroyed, entire communities under the boot of criminal syndicates. The war against cartels is one that will continue for years to come, but the true cost of their dominance is measured in the fear, violence, and corruption they leave in their wake.